Hey team, what's going on? I'm going to assign you some homework. It was on the webinar. Here's basically what you're going to be, these are some notes that you'll want to remember. So for a cell, the previous low has to be broken and retested. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit there and identify market structure for me. Okay, you're going to go look at a chart. Don't use this one. Obviously, find another trade that's in a downtrend that wasn't in the webinar. Find something else. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to identify market structure, which is swing highs and swing lows, to determine the trend. And you're also going to identify when the market becomes exhausted and the transition from a sell to a buy. So you're going to do this for sells and buys. So I'm going to give you an example of one. Again, you're not going to use the pairs that I used in the webinar or in this video. You're going to locate one on your own to show me that you can. So what I'm going to do to identify the lows here is I'm going to draw some arrows. So this is a high and this is a low. Okay, this whole move. This is a high and this is a low. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw an arrow around this low. Okay. I'm also going to do one around this high and this low, excuse me. All right. This is a low. And then this is a low. And this is a low. All right. So what's going on here is the market is in a downtrend due to it creating lower highs and lower lows. And you can see here where it kind of moved a little sideways, but then it broke out and retested. So what you're going to show me is on a sell, you're going to show me the swing lows. And I want you to identify where the retest occurred from the swing low. So you're going to take your eclipse, and if you want, you can put your drawing tool on, and you can see that this was a previous low, right here. So you have your low, and then this was the retest. If you want to do them in different colors, that's fine with me. You can see where another retest occurred. So if you want to use a different, like a box, a square for the low, and then the retest as circles, you can do that as well. Matter of fact, let's do that. Hold on. I'm going to use the square to identify the low used to create this arrow. All right, and if you want, you can just make it like a color. And then the retest, I'm going to use ellipse. So you can see where this right here was the low used, right? These were the lows used to create this market structure. This was a retest of those lows. Now you have, again, another low here, and there's a small retest, not as obvious, but this was the retest. You have your low here. Now look at this. The market did not come down and retest. This is where you're going to identify exhaustion. So you can see here where the market manipulated, came back up, and it started moving sideways, creating pretty much almost a triple, quadruple bottom. This is where you're going to identify the transition and change in the market. As you can see here, the market was unable to, it created one lower low right here, but it was unable to break and retest like these, giving us an indication that the sellers have lost their strength and now the buyers are taking control. So our confirmation is going to be this sideways movement here and the inability to break this low. It was unable to break this low, and you're going to identify that. You're going to sit here and you're going to type that in to show me that you can identify it. And you'll see that your confirmation was pretty much that break and retest at the trend line. Now, if I drag this over, you will see that when we were looking for hits as a ceiling, as we transition to an uptrend, we're now looking for these ceilings to become floors. So on the upside, you can see the break right here and the retest, okay? So I'm gonna show you a buy in a different video and after this, but those would be confirmations right here. So on the sell, you're gonna identify the lows that have to be broken and retested and show me where the retest occurred to that low. Then you're gonna identify exhaustion and how this trade showed you that it could be possibly changing direction. In this case, it was due to this low not being broken and retested, or this low being broken and retested. It was unable to push down, and it then broke our trend line and changed direction. So that's for a sell, okay? So I'm gonna quickly just screenshot this. I'm gonna show you a buy. Look for something that was bullish. All right, here we go. So, and again, I'm doing this in the 1 hour. It doesn't matter what time frame you're doing this on. But as we can see here, we're transitioning, just like I showed you, from a sell to a buy. So I'm just going to delete this real quick. And I'm going to type in my note here so you guys have it. And for buys, we are looking for the previous previous high to be broken and retested. Again, to confirm direction and to confirm continuation and trend. So the number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can draw a trend line. Okay, it's not going to be the prettiest, but I'm doing it. So what we're doing is we're looking for highs. Okay, now we can see we're at a low right here, right? The market made a little high right here. You can use your fractals to help you. So we draw an arrow. Okay, the market then created another swing high right here. Oops, excuse me. All right. Then we have highs. Here's a high. The fractals you can use to help you. High and high. And then I'm going to do this high too. All right. So you can see that we are looking in this case for this high to be broken and retested. Now you can see where it came back and actually was a little bit of a fake out. It came back down to fake everybody out. Most people probably tried to wait for a trend line retest or market structure retest, which is this. So this was a fake out. And then you can see where it came back and just retested right on top, right? So this was your retest right here. Then now look at here. We have another high that we can identify. And you can see where it retested. Small retest, but it did retest. Okay. Now we have another high. And these are all just confirming the trend. And we have a retest. So while we're sitting here breaking and retesting previous structure to confirm continuation, at what point do we realize this trend is no longer valid, or it's changing, or could be ranging? Here's a high. Now look at this. This high became a floor. 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 This high was unable to be broken and retested. So the market lost its momentum right here, the moment it was unable to create a higher high, as you can see right here. All right, it kind of created like a little bit of a double top, and it started moving sideways. This would be an indication that the trade is losing its momentum and it could be shifting. And as you can see, if we drag this out, it was in like a consolidation period for quite some time. And now it's slowly trying to transition. Let me show you. Oops. You can see where we have basically a triple top. So the market was unable to create higher highs and lows. Now at this time, what's happening is it's slowly creating lower highs and lower lows. All right. So at the moment, this trade doesn't look too pretty. However, you can see that the moment it stopped doing that, that was an indication that there could be a possible change in direction, or this could just be a manipulation and keep going up. But what we're looking for is these previous areas of structure to be broken and retested, to confirm a continuation down. All right, so these previous areas, these are what we call our pullback areas, and that's how I locate my pullback areas. So I want you to identify the swing high. I want you to identify the retest and a trend, and I want you to identify when the momentum stopped and why it stopped. Why was it unable to create a higher high? Show me where it was not able to create a higher high and what gave you the indication of a possible change in direction. Here, unable to create higher high. Also, you can see where it broke and retested our trend line, and now it's just moving sideways. So the bullish momentum is a little dead at the moment. And by us understanding this, we know when to pull out of trades and when to possibly look for an entry for either a reversal or for another opportunity. Let me know if you have any questions. That is going to be your homework. Please make sure you're using your squares and your ellipses for the retest. And if you can do them in different colors, that'd be great. If not, no big deal.